It was a dark and stormy night, and it never seems that good things happen in stories on dark and stormy nights. So today we're going to talk about Philip Fracassi's book, Boys in the Valley, and I swear, each book of his that I read, I just fall more in love with his writing. This book blew my freaking socks off. It was so good and emotional. If you've ever been in a spot where you've questioned your beliefs and faith with God and the devil, this story takes place back in the day in like 1898 in Harris Valley, Pennsylvania. And it's at an orphanage where all these boys live, and there's priests that oversee them, and there's this other man there, Brother Johnson, and he was kind of like a former inmate. He could have either like sat in jail and rotted his life away there, or he could stay and help out at this orphanage. So he helps out with the priests, and one of the priests is pretty nice and like human, and one of the other ones a giant a-hole, and you know, with the abuse. There isn't any sexual abuse in this, but it's violent towards some of the kids just with how the priests behave. And then there's one priest that's just really old and kind of like, I don't know, he's there. So you have one that's really good, you have one that's kind of an a-hole, and you have the other one that's just, you know, going along doing his thing, and just how these boys are brought up. And it's a pretty wide age range. There's some real little young ones. I want to say like some are even like 5 or 6 years old, and then up to teenagers. And the story focuses around this boy, Peter. And Peter was orphaned when he was young, and he came to the orphanage, and he's like 16 in this. At this point in his life, he's kind of like contemplating if he might want to become a priest himself. So that's in his mind, but he's not sure, because does he want to commit himself to the faith, or does he want to, you know, go a different way, you know, maybe get married one day and have kids and all that, who knows. He has that conflict going on, and he's kind of like a big brother too to all the other orphans and whatnot. So on a dark and stormy night, bad things come to the door of the orphanage. These men bring in this man who has been shot and is mortally wounded. Upon when this man dies, demons are unleashed from this man as a vessel, and they go into people, but not all of them, right? The spirits don't go into everyone. And so soon you have these boys kind of like choosing sides. Obviously there's a good side, and then there's a really horrible, terrible side. Then the crap hits the fan, really terrible things start happening. Death comes for those that live in the orphanage. It becomes this crazy, murderous rage of chaos. It's who will survive. And then you have the warring factions of good and evil. What that does to you as a person and your soul, and the inner struggle with beliefs, and will anyone be saved? Does anyone survive this? It's gruesome. It's heartfelt, it's emotional, the writing's phenomenal, it's addictive. Like, I was tense the whole time reading this book. You're so tense with seeing where it will go, and the ending is phenomenal. Holy bananas. It's so good. I can't tell you how good this is. So far is my favorite Philip Fracassi book. This is the third one I've read, and this is now a must-read author for me. He is absolutely fantastic. The way he writes, his story ideas, his characters. But this book blew me out of the dang water. I've said this only about a couple other books. Like, my socks flew off my feet, out the room, blew my socks off. Literally. They're out there somewhere. I don't know. Maybe the cat's chasing them around. But yeah, Boys in the Valley. I cannot highly recommend this enough. If you like horror, if you're looking for a new author, if you already know of Philip Fracassi, this is another killer book. It's awesome. So if you are a fan of good versus evil, questioning of your faith and the inner turmoil of that, and just these boys trying to survive and some gruesome stuff, Boys in the Valley might just be for you. It's awesome. When I received the book to read, I was super excited because I already know I like Fracassi as a writer, right? And I read Gothic and A Child Alone with Strangers, and both of those were phenomenal, but this one was even more phenomenal, if that's possible. Boys in the Valley, heck yeah. So if you're a fan of horror books, the next video coming up will be about another horror book. Probably Philip Fracassi, because that would make sense, right? Stick around, check it out, and if you had fun hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.